Welcome back. So today we are going to be doing lesson number 10, which is my thoughts do not mean anything. This idea applies to all the thoughts of which you are aware or of which you become aware in the practice periods. The reason the idea is applicable to all of them is that they are not your real thoughts. We have made this distinction before and will again. You have no basis for comparison as yet. When you do, you will have no doubt that what you once believed were your thoughts did not mean anything. So, in this paragraph, first of all, my thoughts do not mean anything. That itself is a huge disruption. What does that mean? And then it goes on to say that the idea applies to all the thoughts that you are aware of and that you become aware during your practice periods. If you have been practicing and if some thoughts come up, even those thoughts mean nothing. And then they say, we have made this distinction. The we is all the collective consciousness that Jesus is talking about, not just him. He's a part of the collective consciousness. You and I are part of this collective consciousness. That's what he's referring to. So we have no, basically what he's saying is you don't know anything, and that is not how we perceive ourselves in this world. We have grown up to know a lot of things. And then um, what does it mean that my thoughts do not mean anything? The fact that, I have to do something later, or that I whatever your situation may be, and so your thoughts are related to that. But then he's saying that these thoughts do not really mean anything. So let's continue and see what further he has to say. This is the second time we have used this kind of idea. The form is only slightly different. This time the idea is introduced with my thoughts instead of these thoughts, and no link is made overtly with the things around you. The emphasis is now on the lack of reality of which you think. This aspect of the correction process began with the idea that the thoughts of which you are aware are meaningless outside rather than within, and then stressed their past rather than present status present status. Now we are emphasizing that the presence of these thoughts means that you are not thinking. This is merely another way of repeating our earlier statement that your mind is really a blank. To recognize this is to recognize nothingness when you think you see it. As such, it is the prerequisite for vision. Again, this prerequisite for vision is used the second time. And I want to talk a little bit about here where the lesson was these thoughts do not mean anything. And there he talked about that's a prerequisite for vision. So he's referring to the inner vision, not the outside vision that we are looking through our eyes, but through our mind's eyes. This clearly is a huge thing if you think about it, especially the way that we are used to thinking, and then suddenly this comes as a disruptor and says that these thoughts or my thoughts do not mean anything. These thoughts were not so personal as is my thoughts, because my thoughts are now very personal. So paragraph 4 says, close your eyes for these exercises and introduce them by repeating the idea for today quite slowly to yourself. Then add, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. The exercises consist, as before, in searching your mind for all the thoughts which are available to you, without selection or judgment. Try to avoid classification of any kind. In fact, if you find it helpful to do so, you might even imagine that you're watching an oddly assorted procession going on, which has little, if any, personal meaning to you. As each one crosses your mind, say, this thought about blank does not mean anything. This thought about blank does not mean anything. Today's idea can obviously serve for any thought that distresses you at any time. That is a cool thing. So if you have a negative thought in your mind, or if you have a um, unwanted thought that would hurt you in any way, you certainly can use that. And we see the value in it also by using this exercise when we say, my thoughts do not mean anything, because it is something that you are causing to hurt yourself. And then you're using to this sentence to disrupt it, then you see the value in it. In addition, 5 practice periods are recommended, each involving no more than a minute or so of mind searching. It is not recommended that this time period be extended, and it should be reduced to half a minute or even less if you experience discomfort. Remember, however, to repeat the idea slowly before applying it specifically, and also to add, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. So, the beautiful thing about this is how we are undoing our beliefs that we picked up from our conditional growing up, from people surrounding us. They all had good intentions for us, our loved ones. But the fact that those ideas may not have had any basis and we just carried on in our lives, and now we see that really, if you think about those ideas, are they helping you in any which way? And if they are not, then you are now looking for a different way of thinking. Maybe that might work. Try it. It may not. And you, at least you have given yourself that chance to experiment with it. And that is all this is asking you to do. I like to read the footnotes. So in workbook 4, paragraph 2, line 3, none of them are your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. The first time was lesson 4. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like things I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place. The idea that the thoughts of which you are aware are meaningless is a reference to lesson 4. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room, on the street, from this video, in this place. From this window, sorry. Even this video, for that matter. If it came out, then that must be it. Outside rather than within is a reference to lesson 4 statement that it is the first attempt in the long range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside you and the meaningful within. Stressed their workbook lesson 4, paragraph 3, line 3, stress their past rather than present status in a reference to lesson 8, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. The mind is actually blank when it does this because it's only really is not really thinking about anything. So that is a very vital point and a very, if you ponder on it, if your mind is right now thinking what happened yesterday, it actually is not thinking about anything. That's what it is saying. I love the fact that kind of frees us. It's really freeing. And I love the explanation outside rather than within. It's a first attempt in the long range purpose of learning to see the meaningless on the outside as you see the useful meaning within. What is within you is meaningful, and that is what is being projected outside. That is also in the previous lesson. So, with that, again, just practice and see. These are beautiful disruptors for us to move forward in the direction that we want in our life. And with that, I really love you and hope you have a great day and a great week. Thank you for being here.